Hi boys and girls, thank you for joining me. My story today is called My Hair is a Garden. And this book was written and illustrated by Cozbi A. Cabrera. I hope you enjoy. My hair is a garden. Ooh, that's a metaphor. My hair is a garden. I was always drawn to Miss Tillie's house. She lived 4 houses down and across the street from our house. There was something special about Miss Tillie, the way she found a use for everything and made up songs while scrubbing her porch, the way her house shone in the daylight, with its vines curling around it. It took my breath away. You could say her house had a glory. I used to run right into her house when I was a toddler. So when I was teased because of my hair, again, it was no surprise that I found myself running right to Miss Tillie's after school. She led me to her kitchen table where she'd been straining sorrel. Its pungent aroma and the smell of steeping ginger filled the kitchen. When my tears came, a slow leak, a salty streak, she handed me a tissue and let me be for a few minutes. Miss Tillie knew if I was looking for comfort, I could go to Mama for that. She knew I was at her house for a reason. She set a cup of the sorrel in front of me, and I took a sip. It went down smooth and tangy and broke through the lump in my throat. I need help with my hair, I said. It wasn't the first time my hair had been made a joke. I sort of got used to it. I'd shrug it off, or I'd keep my hat on, even when I wasn't supposed to wear it in class. But when Julio Richards, who I'd known since kindergarten, said, "We all know Mac's hair is always a mess," he said it like it was a fact. Like we all know the Statue of Liberty is surrounded by water, or we all know George Washington was the first president of the United States. Folks had been poking fun of my hair since I was little. I told Miss Tillie, "Mama's tried to fix it, but the truth is she doesn't know what to do with it." I could feel Miss Tillie's hand on my thick nest of a head. That touch gave me hope. I made a little song in my head. Miss Tillie's hair is shiny. Miss Tillie's hair is long. She wears it as a crown, like beauty wrapped in song. You know Miss Tillie's hair has a glory. Miss Tillie called my Mama, who said I could stay there for a while. Then Miss Tillie turned to me. "Now I'll show you how to shampoo," she said. Shampoo? I know my hair's a mess, but it's not dirty, I thought. Miss Tillie put a towel around my neck and led me to the sink. Normally I would part your hair in quarters before shampooing, but it's a bit tangled and matted now, so it's best to shampoo first. We'll detangle when it's more pliable. For that, you'll need a wide tooth comb. "I already use a wide tooth comb," I said. "Well, when I use a comb, that is." Miss Tillie took out a large comb with teeth that looked as far apart as the spaces in a garden rake. I nodded. "Oh, right," I said, "a wide tooth comb." "We'll use this one for now," said Miss Tillie. "Later on, when your hair's trained, you can go back to your usual comb." Trained? Did Miss Tillie mean she could train hair? "Oh, yes," Miss Tillie replied. "You've got to work with what you have, but you can still tell it what to do." "Do you think my hair will be as long as yours once it's trained?" I asked her. "Length doesn't matter, MacKenzie. Don't let anybody fool you. It's the health of your hair that counts." Miss Tillie ran the water in the sink. "I guess you're right," I said, but I wasn't convinced. Would my hair always be somebody's idea of a joke? Would it ever be beautiful? Miss Tillie turned the water off. "Which would you prefer if you had to choose? A healthy, shiny head of cropped hair, or hair that's long, straggly, fragile, and full of split ends?" Were those my only choices? These questions were drowning out the song in my head. Miss Tillie looked at me as if she were reading my thoughts. She slowly pulled the towel from my shoulder and laid it on the kitchen counter by the sink, near the drained pot of sorrel. "Come with me," she said, and she steered me toward the screen door to her garden. Miss Tillie's backyard was a paradise with so many shades of green, bright pockets of colorful flowers and cool shade. I could barely take it in. It was as if someone had taken a big paintbrush and made bold strokes of green, then used countless little paintbrushes to fill in the details. We walked over to a bench and sat down. I inhaled deeply. The backyard didn't smell like the rest of the neighborhood. It smelled, well, alive. I wanted to know every part of this garden. I reached down to feel the ground. The earth was damp and cool. It felt like it was giving me something I couldn't see. How did you create this, Miss Tillie? I wanted to know. 30 or more years ago, I put some seeds in the ground, Miss Tillie said. I planted cuttings from neighbors and friends' trees, bought a few plants and bulbs from catalogs. I pointed to the tree Miss Tillie called a Japanese maple, the big one that draped gracefully over the garden. That tree was a cutting? I asked. Oh, that was a wee thing at first. The phone company men came through the yard one day and trampled over it with their boots, got in the way where they were sitting to have lunch. I found it plucked up clean and woven into the chain-link fence. I gasped. What did you do? Oh, I cried, Miss Tillie replied. Paid $15 for that tree, and that was a lot of money for me at the time. But I put that tree right back in the ground and watered it every day without fail. I thought about how that little tree had survived and all the water Miss Tillie gave it every day, even though it just looked like a broken branch. I wondered if I would have given up and thrown it away. I leaned down and ran my hand over some tiny plants on the ground near the bench. What are these? Those are succulents. They hold a lot of water, makes a great ground cover. They sure are pretty, I said. Miss Tillie looked at me. Is that Japanese maple prettier than those succulents? She asked. Of course not, I said. Even though that Japanese maple's taller, she asked. They're both beautiful, I said, even though they're so different. As the words came out of my mouth, I knew that I believed it. Ah, she said, go back inside and put your towel back on. That was the day I first learned that my hair is a garden. My hair is a garden, and like every good garden, it must be cared for every day. The nutrients in the soil can be stimulated and enriched. The body is the soil for my hair. What I give to the soil comes back to me. I love to eat right. My words are like seeds that I plant. What I think and speak draws a yield. I weed out all opinions that have no place in my garden. Like, look down here, the weeds. It's too curly. Pull it back. Straighten it. Cut it off. So those were all the mean things that people at school were saying. But look what she's saying about those. I weed out all the opinions that have no place in my garden. So those mean opinions that people were saying to her, she doesn't need them, right? She's ignoring them. Miss Tillie says it's not what you start with in the garden that matters. It's the care, time, and attention you give it. My hair is a garden, and I give it love. Your hair is a garden too, and I hope you give it love. And remember to weed out all the opinions that have no place in your garden. All right. I hope you enjoyed this book, and I hope you will come back for the next one. Have a great day. This book reminds me of something that happened to me when I was in the second grade. So I got a perm in my hair, so my hair was really curly and it ended up really tight to my head. And so when I went to school, all the children were making fun of me and laughing. And so I ended up putting my head in the desk for most of the day and crying. And I went home and cried to my mom, and she had to comfort me and remind me that those words didn't matter, that I was beautiful regardless of what they said. So kind of like this book said, I had to weed out the opinions that didn't matter. So I hope if something like this ever happens to you, you will remember that you are uniquely beautiful just the way you are. Okay? Have a good day.